Hello, this is the Tradesight Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, October 20th, 2013 and ending Friday, the 25th of October. I say August, I meant October. October 20th through October 25th. Hope you had a good trading week. We had a great trading week here at Tradesight on Forex. A couple hundred pip winner to close out the week on the pound. And just a great week overall, even though it was a little light early with the situation in Washington, but that did get resolved for now at least. So here's the dollar index daily chart. You can see the dollar plunged after the deal in Washington. Concerns that the Fed's going to keep printing to offset the economic downturn that will likely, or the slice that will come off of fourth quarter GDP because of the government shutdown and the brinksmanship that occurred, the extra cost to the government for borrowing in those days leading up to what would have been the default, but it didn't happen in the end. So we're 9 bars down on seeker count, by the way. If I put it in projection mode, you'll see there's the 9 right there. So we're looking for a 13 eventually to give us a buy signal for a reversal. Haven't had a signal either way on the seeker for a while here on the daily chart. That'll be interesting. Something we haven't looked at in a while I wanted to pull up just to put things in perspective here is the weekly chart of the dollar. And this gives you basically the last 2.5, 3 years. You can see we haven't really moved a lot in the last 2 years. Been really up in this 80 to 85 area, 80, 84 on the dollar index. Not a lot of movement versus what we usually see on a given year. Matter of fact, just for fun, and by the way, you'll note the 113 buy signal down here was the low. On the weekly chart, 13 sell signal up here was the high. So again, the seeker tool, very powerful on the bigger time frames. And here's the monthly chart. Again, dollar index been flat now. Basically since the economic breakdown back in 2008. Versus the movement we used to see in Forex 2003 to 2008 when things were a little more mobile, we'll call it. At any rate, so that is what we see on the dollar index, and I don't know that it shows us anything in terms of where the market's heading. Obviously, you would think it looks like weakness in the dollar. We're getting close to the buy signal, but I want to show you a couple things. First of all, here's the euro dollar new highs for the recent period. There was a 13 sell signal back here. This is the risk line for it, so we haven't broken that risk line yet. Technically, the 13 sell signal is still in play. Here's what's interesting versus what I showed on the report over the weekend. Pound dollar just got a 13 sell signal. And as did, here's the Aussie. The Aussie dollar, if I put in projection mode to close out the week and include Friday's count, a 13 sell signal. New Zealand as well, New Zealand dollar as well. All of that would indicate reversals to the downside in those pairs, which is actually bullish for the dollar, which is interesting. So when you get 3 pairs getting a 13 sell signal, which would be for strength in the dollar, and at the same time the euro is still operating on the sell signal, it's hard to believe we're going to head lower. So that's going to be interesting to watch, to see how that plays out. Let's break it down a little bit to the daily charts. I'm sorry, the intraday charts. This is the week in the euro dollar. Starting last Sunday's open, you can see fairly flat Monday, fairly little plunge on some news, and then Tuesday, fairly flat. Tried to drift higher Wednesday, a little bit of a panic, and the euro as there were signs of the deal being reached, and it went the other way. Big move was obviously on after the deal was reached on Thursday, and then Friday was fairly flat, but we did end up, if you look at the pound, by the way, the euro therefore had 220 pips of range for the whole week, which is a little better than what we've been seeing. The pound had 320, which is good, and we made some good money. Had a 200 pip winner on the pound this week, and some other winners as well. Again, a little flat early on, but then finally started moving around on the announcement that the deal was being reached. And here's the Aussie intra-week, just so you can see a little bit flatter. Spent a lot of time being flat. But I'm hopeful that now we can finally get away from this half size soon, as the markets are finally free to do something, at least until we run up to the next default and potential government shutdown in 3 months. But hopefully after this last one, maybe they'll have learned something and get a deal done rather than doing what they did. So maybe that won't be a factor. Maybe the market will be. Certainly the economy and the Forex market in particular would move and benefit from a deal being struck that would give some certainty economically for a couple years out at least. That might be too much to ask given the current players in Washington. Let's go ahead and look at the economic data that's due this coming week. Keep in mind, because of the government shutdown, you're going to see some data that usually wouldn't be coming out. They're going to make up for things that didn't come out, like the unemployment rate and stuff like that. Usually on a Friday, you're going to see that this week instead. We're starting a new option cycle. We're in the middle of core earnings over here in the U.S. That's not necessarily a big factor for Forex, but just something to be aware of. So here we go. Sunday, trade balance out of Japan, credit card spending out of New Zealand. Monday, all industries activity out of Japan in the early hours. German PPI. Wholesale sales out of Canada, existing home sales out of the U.S., crude oil inventories out of the U.S. That's usually a Wednesday number, coming out late because of the government shutdown. Tuesday morning early, trade balance out of Switzerland, core retail sales out of Canada. Here's the U.S. Unemployment rate from the prior month. Again, that should have come out 2 Fridays ago, but couldn't because the government was shut down. Nobody there to do the calculations. Richmond Manufacturing Index at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Natty Gas also due, which was supposed to come out last week. Australia's CPI, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday night. You got a MPC, or official bank rate votes. Not sure what that is. Never seen that one before. U.S. Import prices and export prices Wednesday morning. HPI out of the U.S. Belgian NBB business climate out of Europe, not a big deal. Rate of Bank of Canada rate announcement, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Consumer confidence out of Europe. This number always comes out at a weird time. Everything in Europe should be overnight for here in the U.S. It's 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. is after the market closes. European consumer confidence, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Then the crude oil inventories for the new week, because we'll be back up to speed hopefully. Trade balance out of New Zealand that night. A lot of data out of Europe going into Thursday here in the U.S. We've got the flash manufacturing and services PMI data out of France, Germany, the broad European sector, Spanish unemployment rate. That's a big one, right? Unemployment claims out of the U.S. That's the weekly number now that we're back in business on Thursday. Flash manufacturing PMI, 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. New home sales after that. Natty Gas, 10:30. CPI out of Japan, CSPI out of Japan, then we're into Friday. Money supply, M3 money supply out of Europe, Italian retail sales and private loans. First look at GDP for the third quarter out of the UK. That's one that's going to be coming up here, I think the following week for the US. That's a big one. Core durable goods orders out of the US. Revised Michigan sentiment for the month, as we've already talking about wrapping up October. That's unbelievable. Next weekend, daylight savings time shift out of most of Europe, and then the following weekend will be here in the U.S. Keep in mind that shifts the technicals a bit. So you get different players at different times by an hour. It has a little bit of an impact on the technicals of the market, so sometimes a little bit slower because of that. So it's hard to pick a focal point for the week. I would say that unemployment data that's a little late now on Tuesday could be a big one. That's a bit it. I will be trading them as usual in the lab, looking for some better signs of movement so we can increase our size back to normal on Forex. Keep you advised as to how that goes. As usual, charts brought to you by eSignal 11. Have a great trading week, and we hope to see you in the TradeSight trading room.